All right, so we are so delighted to have attorney Nowak with us this morning from the Nowak and Olson Law Firm in Fort Lauderdale. We'll be talking a lot about bankruptcy and also about foreclosure. Now that we see that there's some tick up in foreclosure. And so I've worked with attorney Nowak for the past 18 years, but kind of lost communication along the way. And recently he reached out to me, and I thought it would be a great way to share some wonderful information with our audience. So thank you so much for accepting, and we are delighted to have you share amazing information with us today.
Well, thank you, of course, for having me. It's my pleasure to be here, and any information that I can provide to you and anybody else out there who's looking for information on these issues, I'm happy to provide that information.
Awesome, awesome. So tell us a little bit about your law firm. We know that you have been in business for quite some time.
Sure.
Yes.
So I've been a attorney in South Florida since 1996. We have several offices. I have a partner. My partner's name is Christian Olson. We are primarily located in Plantation, Florida, but we also have a office in Doral. We have one in Boca, and we also have one in Jupiter. All four locations are staffed. We have conference rooms. We're able to meet with clients there. And so we've been doing this for almost 25 years. We are almost exclusively bankruptcy attorneys. We are also real estate attorneys. It is very difficult in South Florida to be a bankruptcy attorney and not know anything about real estate. They merge and intersect many, many times and for many different reasons. And we're constantly having to bring those issues into the bankruptcy court and vice versa, deal with bankruptcy issues in real estate matters. And so having that experience, that knowledge, that several offices in South Florida has really been a benefit to our practice over the last few years.
Okay, awesome. Well, great, great information. So I know back like in 2007, 2008, there were a lot of people filing bankruptcy. And we would get calls like, what bankruptcy should I file? Should it be seven? Should it be 11? Should it be 13? If you can just break that down for us so that we have a pretty good idea the
Sure.
differences.
Generally speaking, Chapter 11 is for companies. So the average person doesn't file a Chapter 11. It's almost exclusively used by businesses. The typical bankruptcy that an individual will file will be either a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. Chapter 7 really is not about getting help with your home. Chapter 7 is really what we call a liquidation bankruptcy. Chapter 7 is for those people who don't have housing problems, want to keep their house, but don't have problems with their house. You are, of course, able to keep your house in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I think most people realize that Florida protects people's homes, not from the creditors that you sign up for. It doesn't protect you from your mortgage and your taxes, but protects you from bankruptcy court. It protects you from your other regular creditors. And so, generally speaking, Chapter 7 is for those people who are ready to move on, just need closure, can't afford where their life is, and are looking to just put the debt behind them, not necessarily pay any of that debt, perhaps liquidate some of their assets and just walk away from the debt. And then you have Chapter 13, which for the average person is about saving your home, saving your car, helping with the IRS, property taxes, things of that nature. So of course, when 2008 came around and the housing market crashed and people were stuck in positions where they couldn't even sell their houses if they wanted to because houses were worth so much less than what people owed on them, right? I mean, as a realtor, you can imagine telling people you have to bring $100,000 to closing to sell your home. How many people are doing that? And so a lot of people used Chapter 13 to either save their home by trying to obtain a loan modification or using Chapter 13 as a payment plan. Chapter 13 is a guaranteed way to save your home. It can be a little painful, but it's guaranteed. And for the most part, that is what people are looking for. They're looking for a way that they can save their home without having to get the permission of the bank to do it. And what really Chapter 13 is it's a glorified repayment plan where you have 5 years to pay back debts that you can't wipe out. You can wipe out credit cards, you can wipe out medical bills, but you can't wipe out mortgage debt. You can't wipe out association debt, especially if you have equity in your home. And so all these people who are behind, maybe they lost their job, maybe income was reduced, maybe they were sick, and now they are able to work, but don't have the ability to catch up in lump sum like most of us don't. There's a plan out there that's not a loan modification that does guarantee saving your home, and that's Chapter 13. And the court gives you 5 years to pay back that debt interest free. The painful part is that you're paying more than what your mortgage was before. And so that's the part that hurts. But the good news is that bankruptcy deals with all your debt, not just your mortgage debt. And so a lot of times from lowering or eliminating your credit card debt or lowering or eliminating your other personal loans or even car loans, the pain that you have to take on to pay more money to your mortgage people, we can lessen that burden by alleviating some of the financial responsibilities in other places for people. And that's how often we do it. 1 + 1 = 2. A little bit more here, a little bit less there, and save their home.
Okay, awesome. So I know a lot of questions we used to get. So your primary residence, you're able to include it in the Chapter 13. So you're basically reorganizing your finances. What about if you have an investment property? Are you able to include that into your Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
So yes, of course, bankruptcy is about saving any property that you want to save. In the end, your bankruptcy attorney will consult with you about the consequences of keeping things that may not be necessary, things that are more of an investment than something for survival, like a roof over our head or a car to get to work. But the possibility exists. You're not excluded from being able to do that. I've had many, many clients who have saved investment properties through Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and it absolutely can be done. Even under the right circumstances, on investment property, we can even lower what the person owes on the home. These are things that can't be done on your primary residence. It's ironic. That's the way the laws are written, but it's true.
Oh wow, wow. So now you have gone through bankruptcy, and now you have been discharged, right?
Correct.
And so you continuously receive calls from creditors. What can you do?
Well, I will tell you this. That's not supposed to happen. Now, like any other law, and I use this analogy all the time, laws don't make people act, right? I say stop signs don't make people stop. Laws punish them for not stopping. And so you can't stop bad behavior, but the law does punish people for bad behavior. We are by far one of the most aggressive law firms in going after creditors who violate my clients' rights. I have had many, many six-figure awards where we have got well over $100,000 in damages for our clients, just simply because they tried to foreclose when they shouldn't have, put things on people's credit, harassed them and tried to collect. These are all things that are prohibited. The number one thing that after doing this for 25 years that I will tell you is that people are coming into my office because they need a level of peace. And stopping the collection gives them that peace. There's no knocks on the door, no phones ringing, no scary letters in the mail about their houses or their property being taken. And this financial stress is a huge physical burden and mental burden on people. And protecting that is a fundamental right of the bankruptcy court.
Awesome. Well, that's great information. And so bankruptcy on a whole has a negative connotation. And so what are the pros and cons that people don't need to be afraid to file bankruptcy?
It's a good question. I get that question a lot, obviously. The number one thing is you have to realize people come into my office generally when they're already struggling. Struggling means they've already defaulted. They've already defaulted. They've already ruined their credit. I promise everybody the truth, which is bankruptcy is not going to be any worse for your credit than what you've already done to your credit. You know, if somebody walks into my office with an 800 credit score, then I understand the conversation. But if you walk in and you're already sub 600 as a credit score, bankruptcy is not going to do anything worse. In fact, it's my opinion that it's going to make it better. And the reason is that bankruptcy stops all of the negative reporting against your credit going forward. Debt consolidation, debt settlement, they do not resolve credit issues. So these things will still be negatively reported even once you start consolidation. They're still harassing you, they're still suing you, they're still putting it on your credit. So that's number one. Number two is there's a tax consequence. If you don't deal with this debt, there's a provision of the IRS code that says when debt is written off or when debt is settled, you have to pay taxes on this money. These are consequences that don't exist in bankruptcy. And last but not least, of course, it is 2022. It's not 1985, and people understand bankruptcy a little bit better. There's a huge credit market out there for sub-lending, subprime lending, and cars, credit cards, mortgages. You're not excluded from lending if you do this. And so I often will use the analogy is, let's say I'm able to save you $100,000 in credit card, mortgage, car payments, personal loans, and it hurts your credit. I understand that. And so maybe that next car is $4,000 more in interest. Okay, right? You just saved $100,000 and you've gotten all that stress off your body. So to me, the benefits of bankruptcy always outweigh the benefits or the negative side of it.
All right, great. So that's great information because a lot of people, they are so stuck in where they are and they can't move on. And bankruptcy may be what you need to do in order to reorganize and get you on the path to success.
I often say that if you want to boil down my industry into a what we do, we sell like everybody else. We're selling my services, but what I sell is I sell closure. I sell peace. When people come to me, the look on their face, the burden on their shoulders is tremendous. And then after I file their bankruptcy and they come back a few weeks later and they haven't had any phone calls and no collections and no stress, their lives are already improving for the better. And we all know that that's the things that keep people up in the middle of the night. There's a reason that all the bad stuff is on TV after 12 o'clock at night. It's because people can't sleep. And this is why. This is the number one thing that people stress about, obviously.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to shift a little bit to foreclosure. So the market, the real estate market right now is shifting. And when we spoke a few weeks ago, you told me that, yes, you can see that there is an uptick in foreclosure. So for the past 2.5 years, because of the pandemic and the moratorium, many banks were not able to foreclose. Am I correct?
Correct. So obviously in 2020, when the pandemic started, I think it was either April or May of 2020, the United States government put in effect a moratorium on all government-backed mortgages. In addition, on a local level, states, including Florida, closed court. So with courts closed, there's no foreclosures. There's no ability for anybody to push these cases forward for eviction or anything else. So a lot of people who were in financial trouble before COVID went through COVID and were not able to resolve their problems. Were not foreclosed and received the benefit of that additional time. But the problem that they now face is they're much further behind, right? So instead of being 6 or 8 months behind, they're 2, 3 years behind, which can be a problem.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. So this morning, what I did, I just wanted to have an idea of how many foreclosures we have in Miami-Dade. In Miami-Dade, we have 4,589 that were filed, and most of them were filed between 2020 and 2022. And in Broward, I found 3,557. So that tells me that these homes at some point will start coming on the market. And so there goes the shift. The shift is already here. We can see it in the reduced prices of the homes in the market. 3 months ago, we were getting 20 to 30 offers when we list a property within 24 hours. Now we may get 2 or none. So that's certainly a shift. And so if someone who has filed bankruptcy or there's foreclosure, what can you tell them to save their homes? Because there are different options that they have that may help them.
So obviously, each client's scenario is different based on what their goals are, what their financial abilities are. Filing bankruptcy does not eliminate any of your rights. It doesn't eliminate your right to sell. It doesn't eliminate your right to refinance if you can qualify. It doesn't eliminate your right to take money out of your 401k and bring the loan current. It doesn't eliminate your right to modify or to save your home through bankruptcy. What bankruptcy does is it gives you the time you need to achieve your goals, but it's not going to stop you from achieving them, which is what most of my clients need. They need the time to either find the right seller, but in an economy like this where you may not be able to sell the property like the snap like you used to, you might need a little bit more time, or perhaps getting money from 401k or from other government programs might take some time, and it gives you the ability to do that. But I think what's best is there's a lot of people now who maybe in 2019 wanted to sell their home, and now they have the ability to do it. So a lot of my clients are trying to sell and realizing, look, even though I went through bankruptcy, I'm still entitled to all of the money from selling my home. Nobody can touch that. I now have equity. At least I can take it out. If I can't afford my home, I can walk away with this cash, and it's mine. It's protected, and at least they can have a fresh start with some money in their pocket instead of losing the house in foreclosure.
Oh, wonderful. So it's a great time for all those people who filed um, bankruptcy back in 2019.
I have many people who believed they were filing bankruptcy to walk away from their home because it would have cost $50,000 to sell their house, and now they're selling their house and walking away with $50,000. So it's been a tremendous windfall to many people, the rapid appreciation in the real estate market.
Yeah. And so when the market crashed back in '08, many of the people were able to do short sale, loan modification. Do you see that as a way now, especially in loan modification, because a lot of banks were not keen on doing that? And so many people they lost their home because of that.
Yeah, I mean, initially most of the programs back in 2008, 2009 were really the government programs rolled out by the Obama administration. And so there was a lot of government help. Outside of that, it did take a while for the industry themselves to catch up, which they eventually did. But we're not overly optimistic about the prospect of people getting loan modifications in the future. And the real simple reason that I say that is I've been a bankruptcy attorney, a real estate attorney since '96. Loan modifications didn't exist to 2008. And that's because when you had equity in your home, the bank wasn't interested in helping you. They told you to sell. And in 2008, they created loan modifications to help themselves. Why are we going to foreclose a $300,000 mortgage and get 150 grand? We're going to lose our money. So they helped people. But now that equity is back, if the market does come back a little bit, I think that will help people get loan modifications and short sales. But when you have equity in your home, there's no short sales, and it's going to be hard to get a loan modification.
Okay, awesome. So if someone is actually facing foreclosure right now, what should be the number one thing that they do?
Definitely think about your options, okay? It would be historically easy to say to somebody 2 years ago, first thing you want to do is modify. That's not true anymore. And the reason that's not true is interest rates. When the loan is modified, they're going to give you the prevailing rate. So let's say somebody has a $250,000 mortgage and they're behind $20,000 or $30,000. If that person takes a loan modification, they're going to have to take the $250,000 and the $30,000, turn that into one new mortgage at a much, much higher interest rate, because that's where interest rates are. So a lot of people would be better off not getting a loan modification, using bankruptcy to pay back that $20,000 over 5 years. And that leaves the other $250,000 at that original interest rate. You don't need a modification. So bankruptcy provides a way for you to protect that interest rate that we may not see again, right? I mean, we got used to these 2%, 2.5% mortgages, but we don't know if we'll see that again or when we'll see that again. So if you have an interest rate that's sub 3.5%, it's really hard to walk away from that right now. And so it may not be the best advice to run out and modify.
That's great. That's some great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we talked about bankruptcy, the different types of bankruptcy, 7, 11, and 13. And we also talk about the foreclosure because of the uptick that we see that is happening now. And so if you have any questions whatsoever, I want you to share your contact information.
Please, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
So the name of the firm is Nowak & Olson, Nowack. My name is Mitchell Nowak. I can be reached. My main office number is 954-349-2265. In Dade, it's 305-698-2265. And my personal email address is my first name, Mitchell, Mitchell, at noackolson.com, NOWACKOLSON.com. We do free consultations. They can be in person, they can be telephonic, and I'm more than happy to give anybody bankruptcy advice, real estate advice, or perhaps a combination of the two.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Free consultation. Typically, you don't even hear that nowadays. And you have an amazing website. I went on there this morning. So you could find out a lot of information. They have both NOAC and Olson, they have a combined 40 years experience in bankruptcy, real estate, and also foreclosure. So if you are looking to get some advice, if you know someone who may be going through foreclosure or have issues and may need to file bankruptcy, please look no further. Give us your information again.
Thank you. Noack and Olson, 954-349-2265. And I just want to say thank you again for having me, Donna. This has been my pleasure. Educating people in South Florida, helping everybody the best we can is our goal. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to come to our office to share this amazing information with all of our audience. We pride ourselves on bringing information to our clients, to our audience, because then they can make more informed decisions. So thank you so much. We will certainly be working in the future. We wish you all the very best in your business as you, like you mentioned before, that you try. When someone comes into your office, you want them to walk out with a little piece.
That's right.
Right. And so this is what we want to do, and we appreciate that. So thank you so much, and we're looking forward to be working with you and to build a more richer relationship.
Feeling is mutual. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.